The moment is here, you can stop your search. It's Comics by Perch.
Hey everybody, this is Perch. Why do you love comics? Well, there's usually lots of different reasons. The art, storytelling, the imagination, all kinds of different pieces that people hook into. What about this new audience that we're making comic books for now? I think there's and movies is going through the same thing, but there's this this narrative we've been hearing for quite a while now around we have to appeal to new audiences. We have to appeal to new audiences. Well, typically, if you're going to enter the market, it's going to take anywhere from 4 to 8 years to get to that new audience and to see whether you appeal to them or not. And it's been it's been about 5-6 years since a lot of this stuff really was since there's a pivot. You can't just appeal to the same old audiences. In a weird way, in the 90s and the aughts, people were willing to appeal to the same old audience. That wasn't a problem then. But we started to go for this new group, and is it catching? At first glance, it doesn't appear to, or at least it seems like this new group has gone for something else. And, I'm going to read this mail that speculates as to one of the things that's missing and needs to fight its way back into comics. But I want to point out for a moment, my kids spend too much time on iPads and phones, like probably most of your kids. And the game that has them hooked that, I wish we could have avoided, but it became impossible was a game called Roblox. And Roblox basically is a game where people can make games. There's lots of, you log in, there's community and friend server, and you've got all these different types of games. And there's puzzle games, there's horror games. A lot of them are stupid games. A lot of them are overly simplistic, which is why it appeals to children so much. But you can there's everything. The imagination is all over the place with a lot of these games. Gamers may hate me saying that, and as a gamer, I look at this stuff and it's too rudimentary and stupid for me, but all the same. This, I think, is the new audience that a lot of comic people are chasing. They're chasing the Roblox audience. The problem is the Roblox audience doesn't want mundane. It doesn't want slice of life type stories. It wants dramatically imaginative, all over the place type stories. And so, to me, you have an inherent kind of built-in conflict there. But let's read this mail because it kind of hooks into the same. But with that as the backdrop, it says deficit of imagination. Dear Perch L. Perchington. And that's good. It's got a little bit of it's in support of Sean Gordon Murphy's Zorro. It's got a little bit of Spanish flavor to it. Greetings from across the pond. That means the UK. Anyway, long-time listener, sad to see you go. I think what I like most about your takes is it's nonpartisan, and you bring your real-world experience into your takes. That's not to say I agree with everything you say, but I can always see the logic. This channel will be missed. I appreciate that. I don't want everybody, I've said this before, I don't want everybody to agree with what I say, but I do hope you at least see the logic. Even if it's flawed, even if I make the wrong, hell, when I was predicting what Indiana Jones would do, logic dictated my prediction. Didn't turn out that way. But now the question mark will become how many people use the same marketing, same format as Indiana Jones. I don't mean the content. I don't mean whether it's, politically this way or that. I'm saying there is a model for promoting, distributing, and marketing your movie that clearly at this point seems broken post-COVID. But we'll see. Anyway, back to the mail. I'm in my 50s and I read my first comic when I was 5. I buy floppies and trades and hardcovers. I have a pull list at my local shop. I say all this not to boast, but to provide context when I say I love comics. I love the medium and the art form. I love the spats between various factions of the fans and creators, although I don't understand it. Can we not bond over the thing we have in common, i.e. comics? The reason I'm writing is that I don't know how else to say this, but recent comics are hard to love. I speak especially to superhero comics, but also affects other comic genres. This isn't a get off my lawn, old man yelling at sky moment. That's good. Yeah. Have we seen old man yelling at sky? No, I know it's a metaphor. I try to support new comics and creators. I am lucky to be financially comfortable enough to do this, but I'm often disappointed. I'd like to posit that the problem is not limited to comics. Novels appear to suffer from the same decline. Let's leave movies out of it, or we'll be here all night. Yeah, but I think movies does fit your point. Is it possible that what comics suffer from is a deficit of imagination? The malady affects every creative endeavor. Plasmata said, the current mass production of commodified and and passivating images that imagine on our behalf even seems to threaten our authentic capabilities of imagination. Okay, that's heavy. I'm sorry this was long. It's my first time writing in. I promise to ritually desecrate on an Arby's as soon as I come to the U.S. Thank you. Please make sure that you do. And please write in some more. I think it's why I started the way I did. I think comics and books and movies and a lot of media has this problem where they say, to appeal to the new audience, to get to this new group of people, we have to tell slightly different types of stories. And this audience doesn't care for Jack Kirby, crazy, negative zone, nth world, all that kind of stuff. This new audience will find that kind of over-the-top sci-fi, over-the-top kind of imagination impossible to connect with, to relate to. And instead, we need to tell more human stories. And they'll often point to things like, look what Alan Moore did with Watchmen. He told a grounded, nuanced story about the deconstructing the superhero genre. Well, yes and no. He did tell a story that delved into the personal lives rather than just have the kind of Silver Age Superman flying around and dicking around. But, it also involved time travel and people with powers and giant octopus creature. I mean, it involved a lot of stuff that was blatantly Jack Kirby in the construct of, diving into these characters' lives more. I think a lot of people misunderstand Vertigo and Alan Moore and some of the creators that really kind of emerged in the 90s, which, keep in mind, a lot of the comic writers, the people who were doing comics, they grew up on The Invisibles and Watchmen, and to some extent Frank Miller. They grew up on these books. This is their golden age. Not Jack Kirby, not some of the superhero boom of the 60s, but these deconstructed takes. And they all have a certain element of realism. And as, you've seen movies and TV shows and books also kind of proceed down this path, there becomes more of a desire to say, do a comic book more like Clerks than, say, Star Wars. And, movies and things like Clerks, where it's like, here's a slice of life, day in the life of a character that has a out of control kind of spiral of events that occur. There's nothing wrong with those movies, and they're fine. But it was never meant to be only that. And, reading through a lot of Marvel, the writers at times feel embarrassed to get into the superhero aspects of it, as though it's overly cheesy, as though it's somehow cheap. It's, that type of storytelling is, for infants or, not for this new audience. And so instead, we're going to do more grounded stories. We're going to do things where, and I think you're right. I think it is a lack of imagination on the part of the creators who are more interested in telling stories of their lives through the comics than kind of the dramatic, big sci-fi action. They want something a little bit more grounded. They want something a cosplayer could identify with. And, you could make an argument that, a romance comic, if, several of these people had, romantic lives, but if a romance comic were to go slice of life, that would make a lot of sense. But superhero comics, that genre, it's just not meant to be this way. It's not meant to be a constantly grounded take. That's not what superhero comics are. Now, you could be a great creator and you could still kind of provide this, and that's fine. That could be your thing. But a lot of the people that we point to as the originators of kind of this more grounded, more nuanced take in comics, a lot of the people that the people, most namely Alan Moore. I wonder if people actually read this guy's books. Alan Moore did crazy, big time, over the top storylines. He absolutely did. He also knew how to write the between the moment scenes. Anyway, I don't know. I think that to me, what's happened here is that we have a bit of a lack of an imagination. And we have a bit of an embarrassment over the Golden Age and the Silver Age. And these kind of over-the-top comics has been being too old-fashioned, too cheesy. And somehow that's become, if we want to appeal to modern audiences, if we want to get this new group of people, we're going to have to, go grounded. We're going to have to go for, smaller stories that people can see themselves in. It's kind of when you see people use the argument of, hey, we introduced this, indigenous character, so that people can see themselves in that. Indigenous people can finally have a character to look up to. And I think that statement, underscores the fact that there's a belief that the audience, the comic reading audience, has no imagination and won't go for kind of wild fantasy. I mean, look, again, my kids are over there playing Roblox, and people are pretending that they're werewolves and vampires and robots and space aliens and all kinds of stuff in that, and have no trouble doing so. So this idea that, well, we have to make the character based on the same ethnicity and type as, the reader, I think that's kind of an insult to the reader, who is more than willing to, do anything, have these stories be, anyone and anything. I don't think this new audience is behaving like comic publishers and writers and authors and movie makers and other things. I don't think they are who these people think they are. I think you spend all of, 10 minutes just watching a teenager and what they're into, whether it's Roblox, whether it's manga, whether it's any of these other pieces. And you quickly discover, it's not all about, hey, the characters want to go out to dinner and the characters want to have, support groups and just some of the stuff that there's no interest in by the vast majority of the audience. I'm not saying nobody, the majority. So I think it's a lack of imagination. It's lack of faith in their audience. For me, anyway. What do you think? Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Like and subscribe, hang in there, and always defecate on Arby's. Thanks for listening.